My dad moved out on Christmas morning, telling me Santa Claus doesn't exist. My mom's boyfriend moved in a week later. It was miserable. I wanted to end my life. I felt I'm not worthy enough to live. I'm not worthy enough to be loved or to love anyone. I felt betrayed my parents. Now I know that my parents still love me, but at that time, I was miserable. But one of the mornings, my principal gathered all the students and he asked, let's count 1, 2, 1, 2. Would you count with me? 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. And he said every 2 seconds you counted, there was a child dying in Africa. I started to cry. I started to cry because I was suffering so much, but I realized there is somebody else suffering. And maybe there is something I can do for them. So I commit my life to serve others, and I wanted to do social justice, human rights, and serve for others, and I found that's the purpose of my life. So when I was teen, I tried to prepare myself to serve for the International Human Rights Organization, and as a part of it, I started to learn about different religions. I even went to Zen camp. And I'm sure many of you went to youth camp, and it's so wonderful, isn't it? Fun and being with other people and singing and praising. Zen camp is nothing like that. You just sit and meditate for 24 hours. But I studied about different religion. And first time in my life I went to worship, Christian worship. I don't remember what the preacher said, but as good Methodists will say, my heart got strangely warmed. I started to cry and cry and cry because I felt like I was forgiven or something happened. But I was so stubborn. Well, as a teenager, I said, okay, I'm going to just ignore. I'm strong. I don't need God. I don't need Jesus. And I'm going to keep going. And that's what happened. But I wanted to study international relations. And I didn't speak a word of English. So I decided to move from Tokyo, Japan, to Toledo, Ohio. Toledo, Ohio was nothing like Tokyo. I loved it, but as many of you know, when you go to college, you become nobody. Because even though you are a leader in high school or you are a superstar, whatever in high school, you have to establish your identity in college. Suddenly I was nobody. I didn't speak English. I had a really hard time taking notes because I didn't know any language. But after 2 years, after struggles, I got used to things. And I was able to communicate with people. I became resident advisor. I was part of student government. I was homecoming princess. And I started to enjoy my life in college. And then I thought, well, maybe I'll go to Bible study. And because it's free and their cookies tend to be good. So I went to local churches. And I didn't see anyone my age. And I'm like, how am I going to talk about my relationship with this 80 years old lady? And then I met a wonderful campus minister, Reverend D. Baker, campus minister at University of Toledo. So I joined the campus ministry, and I know many of you are part of campus ministry, and I love the campus ministry. I love the people, and I went to worship, and I went to Bible study. I still struggle with my faith. But after a year or so, I was talking to my pastor in her office, and she said, Jesus loves you. I mean, how many of you heard that before? Jesus loves you. People tells you, and you heard it before. And then every time I heard it before, I'm like, yeah, right, thanks. I knew that, I know that. But that day, when I was talking to her, she said, Jesus loves you the way you are. And it felt like someone dunked lukewarm water around me. And then I couldn't hear what the pastor was saying. And I saw myself in the room. I saw the building I was in. I saw the city. And then next thing, I was floating around in darkness, feeling unconditional love I never felt in my life. And I knew Jesus loved me before I was born. Jesus was there with me when I was trying to end my life. Jesus is still with me. I was back in the office. I didn't know what to say, so I left. I call it my spiritual baptism. It was such a special experience that I wanted to become a Christian. I was in the darkness, but through that experience, I found light, I found hope, and I wanted to share that with others. Soon after, I felt calling. But I was so new being Christian, and like many of you, I was so afraid. What? A pastor? Are you kidding me? Me? No way. No way. I don't want to be a pastor. So I went to a graduate school to get master in student affairs administration. And then, as many of you know, I was part of United Methodist Student Movement. And I met so many different type of pastors. And I started to think, I wonder if I can be my kind of pastor. And so I went to talk to a pastor that I am Jesus' disciple. I want to go anywhere Jesus wants me to send me. I will go wherever Jesus wants me to go. I want to serve people. And this pastor said, it's not fair for our conference, so don't be a pastor. That really discouraged me. And I hope you don't have any discouragement once you decided to become a minister. But I didn't pursue the process for 2 years because I was so discouraged. But thank God, God keeps nudging me. One person said, calling is like an itch you cannot get rid of. So if you have it, you may have it rest of your life. My seminary classmate was 75 years old when he entered. Now he's serving as a pastor. Isn't that amazing? Doesn't matter how old you are, but keep listening. Keep listening. And even I went to seminary, I wasn't sure about serving as an ordained minister. Something happened when I started to do field education and I started to work at a church. I fell in love with people. I love the church so much. I love everything about ministry, preaching or worship or Bible study or talking to people, visiting people, even wedding and memorial services. I loved it. But my calling, it took me a long time until I was in seminary serving in a church. You heard many stories this 3 days. Calling comes in different forms. When I was doing the survey, who encouraged you? Your family, your friends, your pastor, your community? At the time, I was saying, no. Only God encourages me to go on to a minister. Some of you, perhaps only God is encouraging you to be a minister. Perhaps some of you, everyone around you is encouraging you. And it is okay. We are all different. God calls each one of us. We are all different. And it is okay. Because I will reach out to people, you may not reach out. You will reach out to people, I may not be able to reach out. We need you. I was talking to one of the participants this week, and he said, I'm not sure United Methodist Church or this kind of church is my church. You know good things about being a pastor? You can transform the church to the way you like it.